today we're going to be talking about like finishing strong in in your semester here. Like after Easter, it can be really easy to just be like, oh, the end of the semester is nearby, even though it's still a month away. But we can let that mindset kind of like permeate our thoughts and just maybe like slow us down or like create laziness in us. So we're going to talk about like how do we combat that and like why is it important to combat that. So Kayla is going to start us off with her talk, and just before that, it would be the video. Are you starting with the video?
Mm-hmm.
Starting with the video. Woohoo!
Zoe, how do I turn this up?
Via the volume.
Like on the computer?
I can do this.
Okay, so this video has like subtitles that are like way incorrect. I don't know how they created this, so just ignore them.
So, Coach, how strong is Westview this year?
A lot stronger than we are.
Oh, it's not even
You already written Friday night down as a loss, bro?
Well, not if I know we could beat them.
Come here, bro. You too, Jeremy.
What, am I in trouble now?
Not yet. I want to see you do the death crawl again, except I want to see your absolute best.
What, you want me to go to the 30?
I think you go to 50.
50. I can go to the 50 if nobody's on my back.
I think you do it with Jeremy on your back. But even if you can, I want you to promise me you're going to do your best.
Alright.
Your best.
Okay.
You going to give me your best?
I'm going to give you my best.
I want you to do it blindfold.
Why?
Because I want you giving up at a certain point when you can go further. Jeremy, get on his back. That's a good tight hold, Jeremy. All right. Let's go, Brock. Keep your knees off the ground. Just your hands and feet. There you go. A little bit left. A little bit left. There you go. Show me good effort. All right, Brock. You keep coming. There you go. It's a good start. A little bit left. A little bit left. There you go, Brock. Good strength. That's it, Brock. That's it.
Not at 20 yet?
Forget the 20. You give me your best. You keep going. That's it. No, don't stop, Brock. You got more in you than that.
How you doing? This rest was like
You gotta keep moving. Let's keep moving. Let's go. Don't quit till you got nothing left. There you go. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving, Brock. That's it. You keep driving. Keep your knees off the ground. Keep driving. Your very best. Your very best. Your very best. Keep moving, Brock. That's it. That's it. That's it. Keep going. Don't quit on it. Keep going. Keep driving. Keep your knees off the ground. That's it. Your very best. Don't quit on it. Your very best. Keep driving. Keep driving. There you go. There you go. That's it. You keep driving. Keep your knees off the ground. Keep driving. Don't quit till you got nothing left. Keep moving, Brock. That's it. That's it. That's it. Keep going. I want everything you got. Come on, keep going. Hurts. Don't quit on it. Your very best. Keep driving. Keep driving. There you go. There you go.
he's heavy.
I know he's heavy.
I'm going out of strength.
You negotiate with your body to find more strength, but don't you give up on me, Brock. You keep going. You hear me? You keep going. You're doing good. You keep going. You not quit on me. You keep going. I know it hurts. You keep going. You keep going. It's all hard from here. 30 more steps. You keep going, Brock. Come on. Keep going. Burn. And let it burn. Burn. It's all hard. You keep going, Brock. Come on. Come on. Keep going. You promise me you're back. You're back. Don't stop. Keep going. It's not too hard. You keep going. Come on, Brock. Give me more. Give me more. Keep going. 20 more steps. 20 more. Keep going, Brock. Give me your back. Don't quit. No. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. Brock Kelly, you don't quit. Keep going. Keep going. most influential player on this team. If you walk around defeated, so will they. Don't tell me you can't give me more than what I've been seeing. You just carried a 140-pound man across this whole field in your arms. Brock, I need you. God's gifted you with the ability of leadership. Don't waste it.
Coach?
Can I count on you? Yes.
Coach?
What is it, Jeremy?
I weigh 160.
So yeah, I got super jacked when I watched that last night. Yeah, I like have athlete mind. But so we're gonna start in prayer, and then we're gonna talk about excellence. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Come, Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we thank you and praise you for this wonderful day that you have given us, this opportunity to come together, to learn about growing in the virtue of excellence, to just get motivated to persevere throughout the rest of this semester. Lord, I thank you for each one of these students that has gotten up this morning to come here to just serve you. Lord, I ask that you help us to just grow together in friendship, to run towards you, to just continue to build each other up. Mary, our Mother, we ask that you wrap us in your mantle, draw us ever closer to your Son as we say, Hail Mary.
Holy gracious Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death.
How many of you guys feel like Brock sometimes when someone's just screaming at you to keep going when you really don't want to? I do. So, yeah, basically, I'm just going to try and motivate you guys and talk about excellence. Like, you guys are all here for a reason. Like, we kind of like the video said, like, I really like that the coach was like, God has gifted you with the ability of leadership. Don't waste it. Like, that's what we see in all of you. Like, you guys are leaders, and you guys can be the most influential people on this campus. God is very attractive, and if you guys are exuding that love and joy on campus and just like being that witness, like people are gonna be like, wow, like how do you guys get that? And just like really like want to follow you guys. So I want to start with a story. Rachel's story, actually. So last year, I wasn't here, but she told me this story. Last year, the missionary who was here, Brittany, she invested in Rachel a lot, like literally until the very end of the semester. So she presented the gospel to Rachel, asked her to accept Jesus, and she said no. So then Rachel goes on a mission trip with Brittany to Rome, and Rachel has great conversion there, and so they come back. Brittany's like, all right, well, I guess we'll try this again. Presents the gospel to her again, and she says yes. Brittany's like, great, okay. So then it's like 2 weeks left in the semester. Brittany's still investing in Rachel, and she asks her into discipleship. Rachel's like, oh, okay, sure, like, there's 2 weeks left, like, I'm not really dramatic, I guess. Like, and, I mean, if any of you know Rachel, like, you know that she's an amazing leader. She's leading a Bible study. She just got a disciple. And, yeah, she's crazy busy all the time, but she, like, makes time. She's leading a Bible study. She's in discipleship with me. She has a disciple underneath her, and she's on the Titan Catholics board, plus she has class, plus she works, like, she's crazy busy. I don't know if she sleeps, to be honest, but but just like if Brittany hadn't invested in her, like I don't know if she'd be doing as much as she is now. Like I don't know where she'd be at right now. Like if Brittany hadn't like put in all that time and like invested in her until the very end of last semester. Like Brittany knew she was like leaving at that point, but she's like, no, like I'm gonna keep going. Like I'm gonna keep inviting Rachel, like into this. Like I want her to be a part of this. And I know some of you guys are seniors. Like you won't be here next year. That's like not a reason to like not invest in somebody. Like you don't know. Like you may not see the fruits of everything like that happens here, but like that's no reason to like just give up. Like keep going until the very end. I know that last year, like when I was a senior, like at the end, like it was super hard. Like senioritis is real, and like it is really hard. And even like just as a normal student, like okay, well I have my own problems, like, and I have a lot of stuff that I need to do, but like that's not a reason to just like give up and stop investing. I mean, Jesus persevered till the very end. And I always like, I know this is probably cliche, but like just thinking about like all that Jesus like went through for us, like you guys can lose a little bit of sleep for him. I don't know, like just like it, like taking that extra step, like okay, there's someone I like sit next to in class, and like I really don't want to talk to them, and like it's way too late in the semester anymore. Like I lost my chance. Like no. You didn't, like, you have that opportunity. Like, we have meals on Wednesday, every Wednesday. They're not Catholic meals. Like, we don't just sit there and talk about Catholicism and everything. Like, it's just like a place to grow in fellowship, and it's a great opportunity to invite people to that. God has placed these people in your life for a reason. Like, those people that you sit next to in class every day, those people that you live in the dorms with, like your roommate, the people who live on your floor, the people you go to class with every day, the people you study with, like, God has placed them in your life for you to reach out to them. Like, you may be the only person who can reach them. And if you don't do it now, like, who's going to? Like, you don't know if they're going to be here next semester. Like, you don't know, like, you've never talked to them. Like, you literally don't know, like, where they're going to be at. So if you don't, like, at least invite them, like, you just don't know. So, yes, that may seem like, oh my goodness, like, now I have to talk to all these people, or like, I have to, like, invest time in these people. I know that last time Sarah talked about friendship, right? That's what was last week. We talked about friendship and, like, investing in people in that way. Well, you guys don't I know that we missionaries, like, oh, you want to meet up? And then we sit there and talk to you for an hour, and you're like, okay, well, I've got other things to do. Like, I can't meet up with all these people and talk to them for an hour. Like, I can't, like, spend 5 hours doing that. How many of you guys have to study every day? Or at least almost every day? How many of you have to eat every day? Everybody, okay. Like, that's a great opportunity to invite people into that, too. Like, you guys both have to do it, guaranteed. If there's a student on this campus, they have to eat and they have to study. Like, invite them to do that with you. Like, it doesn't have to be something like, oh my goodness, okay, I have to, like, write all this down, I have to sit down and have this super intense conversation with you that I really don't want to have, and I'm already stressed out. Like, no, just, like, sit down with them, invite them to just, like, normal events. You don't have to, like, sit there and invite them to go to confession if they haven't gone in 20 years or 10 years or whatever it is. Like, invite them into your life. Like, hey, you want to go study with me? You want to go eat with me? Like, continue to make those invitations. Like, if you're in a Bible study or if you're leading one, like, hey, I have this Bible study, like, that I go to. Like, do you want to come? Like, it's a good stress reliever, like, it's a good study break, like, whatever it is, like, you can meet new people. Like, especially after, like, if they have been in your life and you have been, like, hanging out with them, like, hey, come meet my friends. Like, come hang out with these cool people that I know. So, yeah, just, like, keep inviting people. Brock did so much more than he thought he could. Like, and it was just like they had that person, like he had his coach like yelling at him the whole time. Like he really had no idea where he was going. Like he just assumed his coach would tell him like, okay, you're done. Like, so I always talk about the 40% rule. I have been talking about it a lot lately, and I don't know if you guys know like what that is, but it's like used a lot like as far as like physically goes. Like the 40% rule is like once you've given everything, or once you think you've given everything, you've really only given 40%. So you have like so much more left. Like I feel like that can be like related to a lot of things. Like once you guys like feel like you've given everything, like I've invested in this person so much, like, and they're just not doing anything, like, cool, keep investing in them. Like keep going, and I want you guys to like be able to encourage each other in that too. Like us missionaries are here, like that's like our job partially to like really encourage you guys, but like you guys like can encourage each other too. Like okay, like we're gonna like set goals with each other. Like I know you guys at least like hang out with like one person in this room. Like use that. Like we're here to like help each other. And I just want to like emphasize that like prayer is like a necessity like on this mission, and I know you guys know that, but just like really like re-emphasizing that. Without God, like we really can't do anything, and like it will feel like we're completely burnt out if we're not praying, because like we need to be like filled with that like every day. Like it needs to be a daily thing, and like if we're not going back to Jesus and we try and do this ourselves, like honestly, we're probably gonna fail. Like we can't do it on our own. Like we're not called to do that. And I like Mother Teresa's quote, like everyone should pray an hour a day, except for busy people. They should pray 2 hours a day. And like it's true. Like there's just so much that you can gain from that. But yeah, just like really helping each other, like motivating each other to just like persevere through this last part of the semester, which leads us to our next video. That's right now, right, Joe?
Sure. Yeah, that works.
I didn't know if you were doing
No, that's good.
Oh my goodness, everyone's
My name's Bob.
Yeah, we're watching Father Mine.
Oh, sorry, it is on. It's just loading.
Here we go.
Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. You know, when it comes to All Saints Day, it's one of the great celebrations, one of the great feasts that the church gives us. One of the things I think sometimes we don't get is like, what difference do the saints make in our lives? And where do we even get this idea that there's this thing called we call the communion of saints? Well, in St. Paul, or the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 11, it talks all about these great heroes of faith. It talks about Abraham, it talks about Moses, it talks about Samson and David and all these kind of people, about how amazing they are. And then we hit chapter 12, and the author writes this. He says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses," like talking about this, like, okay, therefore, all these people, they're surrounding us. "Since, therefore, we're surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight, every sin which clings to us so closely, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us." Now, there's something about that that just, it really gets me when it comes to like thinking about the race. Thinking about like, here are the saints who have gone before us, and so let us also set aside everything that holds us back, everything that holds us, slows us down. It reminds me of this story. A number of years ago, I was my whole family, we used to love doing these what they call Ironman triathlons. So a triathlon is obviously swimming, biking, and running. My family would do these Ironman triathlons, which is an Ironman is a race that is 2.4 miles of swimming, 112 miles biking, and then a full marathon, 26.2 mile marathon at the end. And one of our favorite places to do this race was in a small town called Penticton, British Columbia. It's up in Canada. And it was just awesome. It was such a fantastic thing. The entire town and the surrounding region would come out for this race, and they were super fans. I mean, it was incredible. But the idea is this: you start at 7 a.m. in the morning, You have to finish the whole race by midnight. That night, you get that many hours. And if you finish even a second after midnight, you, at the end of your name, by your name, it says DNF, did not finish. So even if you ran the whole race, raced the whole race, but you came in just a second after midnight, you were essentially disqualified. It was like you hadn't run at all. So one of the things is people finish like that. People finish all the way up until the cutoff time. And so one of the things that people do if you're in the race is you get done with the race. What we did this one day, one year, we got done with all of our races and we all congratulated each other and stuff. Went back to the hotel, showered up, got some food, and then you go back to the finish line and you cheer on the people who are still coming in. So we got back there around 10 o'clock or so at night, and so we're cheering people, and there's this guy in the microphone saying, "Here comes number 245." Cheer him in. His name's Joe Smith. Cheer him in, kind of thing. And so it's so cool because as you're running into town, so again, a whole marathon, you run straight out, half marathon, straight back into town, the second half of the marathon. When you hit like 6 miles to go, like there are people out there cheering 6 miles out, and then you get closer and closer to town in this little small town. The streets were just lined. The whole course was lined. There were those last miles, like shoulder to shoulder with people. And then as you got even closer, it was like a wall of people, just people cheering you on. So you run down Main Street, and then what happens is the last 100 meters or so, you take this like 90-degree left-hand turn, and then there's the finish line right in front of you, with bleachers set up on either side of the road, people cheering and stuff. So that's what you do. So as people are coming in, my family and I were in the bleachers, we're cheering people on, the way to go. Pretty soon, it's like 11:45. It's like 15 minutes to the end of the race. And then the guy on the microphone says, we just got word, there's someone out there, he's 2 miles out from the finish line. Bring him in, you guys, kind of a thing. And I'm thinking, 2 miles out, 15 minutes to go. This person's been racing the entire day since 7 a.m. and they're still racing. There's no way they're going to finish the race 2 miles in 15 minutes. It's just impossible. But some people, they jumped off the bleachers and started running. And people who had finished the race themselves, they jumped off the bleachers and started cutting across this little park kind of behind us and ran down the course. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can't believe this. I'm talking with my family. Like, I don't think this is going to happen. How could this possibly happen? 7 or so minutes go by, and the guy from Mike again says, okay, you guys, he's 7 minutes to go. He's got a mile. He just did a mile. We're like, what? He did a mile in 7 minutes? That's remarkable after having been out the entire day. So he goes, more people, get out there, get out there. So people are jumping off the bleachers and they're running across this park, running down the road to cheer this guy on. And the time's just ticking by, and it's getting so close to midnight. Pretty soon, this is just remarkable. At 12:59 or something like this, I remember I could just hear this dull roar growing from off back into my right. Because I'm facing the finish line's right here. They're coming down this way. I hear this dull roar back into my right, and just this crowd of people just crying out. And then I'm looking down the road, and I see all of a sudden this guy just coming across the corner, and he's leaning into the corner. He's sprinting as fast as he can. Behind him, there was this wall of people at this V formation filling up the entire road of all these racers who they had already finished their race, but they ran out and they're running into him. Of course, they can't run the race for him; they can just cheer him on. And he comes down and he's sprinting as fast as he can. The place is going crazy, and he crosses the finish line at 11:59, 47 seconds, something like this. It's just ridiculous. He finished the race 13 seconds with 13 seconds to go. I mean, everyone's crying, everyone's cheering. It's remarkable. If you think about this, all these racers, this guy on his own, he probably wouldn't have finished the race. On his own, he probably wouldn't have been able to do it. I mean, because he was working hard, he was doing what he could. But because all these other racers, they themselves had finished the race, and they couldn't run it for him, they couldn't pick him up, they could just go out and support him. They did this, and they ran him in. And I remember thinking right there, this is the communion of saints. This is what All Saints Day commemorates. Is we have all these people in the church. They have gone before us. They're in heaven now. They've run their races, and they can't run our race for us. But what they can do is they can cheer us on. They can pray for us. They can intercede for us. They're on our side. And this reality that the author to the Hebrews says, we're surrounded by this great crowd of witnesses. So I just invite you to do this. If you ever feel like you're just running down the road and there's a motorcycle right behind you, or you feel like you can't go any further. You don't think you're going to make it. Just to realize that you are surrounded by this great crowd of witnesses, this great cloud of witnesses, cheering you on. Of course, we have our Father in heaven. We have Christ. We have the Holy Spirit. God Himself wants you to win. But He's also given you a family, the saints. And the saints absolutely love you as well. And they're cheering you on. So, from myself, Father Mike Schmitz, and from Ascension Presents, God bless you.
So yeah, you guys have lots of friends. Now Joey's gonna talk. Yay, Joey!
Thank you, Kayla. That was awesome. So, yeah, we do have this great cloud of witnesses surrounding us, this family of saints who are like urging us and rooting for us as we live out our Christian lives, as we live this great commission that Jesus has given us. In the last upper room, I kind of talked about St. Ignatius of Loyola, Francis Xavier, and Peter Faber, and how they were like really good friends, and they like evangelized the world. And it was like, it's an amazing story. We can all have that impact. Sometimes it's hard to connect. Like they lived 500 years ago. They just kind of seem like these almost mythical figures. Like, holy cow, like Japan, like 500,000 heads in Japan because of Francis. Like, how could I do that? So today I want to share with you about someone who is seen as very average in the eyes of the world. Somebody whose life you might watch and be like, yeah, like my life kind of looks like hers. Looks average. But first, I wanted to ask a question. What do you think is the hardest about the last weeks of school, whether it be like academics or spiritual life? Just anything with life, prayer, school, like relationships. What do you guys find the hardest?
You're like so close, you can see it, but you can't get there because there's like a whole week and you're just like, like you know, when you have the frame library, like I'm almost there, but you're really not, and it screws you over for everything you have to do for the rest of it. Because you're like, but I'm so close, but you're really not.
Mm-hmm. What else?
I feel like you get to a point in the semester where everyone's like so busy, they don't have like extra time around because they're all picked with the slack of what they haven't been doing the rest of the semester. So then we want to go and hang out with them or whatever. They like don't have time. They're like, oh, I have to do like 18 million things or whatever. So that makes you feel like you don't care because no one else cares. So it's like, let's go with like why
Yeah.
try.
Yep, those are real. Yeah, so as you live out this great commission that Jesus has given you to love others enough to bring him to them, you're going to encounter suffering in different forms. Like it probably, maybe it won't be physical suffering, but it'll be suffering, like emotional, like constantly getting rejected, like ask people to hang out, or just like yourself, like knowing that you have finals and like you see that finish line and you just want to be there already. And when we're suffering in any, whether it be physical or like that emotional, it makes it really hard for us to love people. I just see that myself so much. Whenever I've been like slightly sick, I'm always like using it as an excuse to like not talk to people as much, or just like not like love people well when I'm with them. Like, oh, I'm just gonna like be quiet and try to rest, as if like not talking is like helping me rest or something. So Kiara had lived like an amazing life, an amazing average life. And I'm going to share about her. So she's from Italy, and she was born in 1972, and then she passed away in 1990 when she was 18. She was 18, basically like around our age, and she's like very, she was on this earth like very recently. I mean, she died 2 years before I was born. Like this woman isn't from like some like mythical legend from the past that maybe, I don't know, like you question. She was real, as you can evidence by her pictures. You can probably tell she's a very joyful person, like ridiculously photogenic, but like her smiles are authentic. You can just like tell that she loves life. She loves living.
Is she blessed or not?
She is blessed. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, she liked to sing and dance. She's probably like dancing right here. That looks like somebody who'd be fun on the dance floor, right? Like she was she just lived a very bright life. I mean, you guys like going to coffee shops? Like, she loved going to coffee shops. Do you like hiking mountains? She loved to hike mountains. Singing and dancing, like tennis was her favorite sport. She played tennis like a lot. And I mean, straight like women, she probably would have been like your best friend. I'm just saying. And men, like all the guys actually loved her. Like multiple people that knew her said like she had a lot of suitors. Like guys just wanted to like be around her and like take her on a date. So men, you probably would have fancied a date with her. I mean, many of you also have a best friend. Kiara also had a best friend. Her name was Chica, and that's her right there. And Chica is actually still alive today, and she's spoken about Kiara at a number of places, and she said, like, we were basically twin sisters. We'd exchange clothes, we'd share, like, our visions for life, our dreams. Like, Chica talks about how Kiara's dream job was actually to be a flight attendant. And when they were in high school, they traveled to Spain together just for, like, a fun trip, and Chica was recounting the story of how they were at the beach, and they're just like having a blast at the beach like most of us would, and she said that we just like all of a sudden was like, oh, we gotta go to mass. Like they waited. They're like, we love the beach so much, but we love Jesus more. We knew he was always with us, and that he was a fundamental part of our lives. So we sprinted to mass. Like we waited till the last minute to sprint to mass because like we want to get to mass, but we also like love the beach. Like they just love life and living. Jack, could you get this, like, just click for the slide, please? Thank you. And another friend of hers had this quote about what it was like to interact with Kiara. And she said, Kiara was able to listen to you silently. When you talked to her, there was nothing else in her world but you. Like, what a beautiful quote. What a compliment that must be. And like thinking back to Kristen Burt's talk, if you were here for that, like how you can make somebody feel loved if you truly listen to them when they're talking with you, when they deem something like worthy to be shared with you, if you can listen to them and love them in that, like how beautiful that can be. So Kiara, when she was 16, she was playing her favorite sport, tennis, and she noticed some pain in her shoulder. And when she went to get it checked out at the doctor, they found out that she had an aggressive tumor on her spinal cord. And before she went in, she set up a surgery to have, so they could try to remove all the parts that were cancerous. And before she went in, she said, I went to the one who never left me. She went to the church and was able to go to confession and just pray to try to receive Jesus into her before she had this surgery. And after she woke up from the surgery, I mean, obviously she was exhausted. And her prayer, she just said, just kept repeating. And this became her prayer for the rest of her life was, Jesus, if you want it, I want it too. Just what an amazing prayer. Jesus, if you want it, I want it too. So before I move on with your story, I wanted to ask a couple questions. What qualities or characteristics do you notice about Kiara's life so far?
She doesn't seem like she's living for herself. She's living for everyone around her.
Yeah, that's true. Nothing else. You guys don't notice anything else about her life? You can just a quick fact. Yeah, she does. She loves having fun. Yeah. I mean, I hope I portrayed her life in a way that is relatable to you guys. Yeah, she loved doing the stuff that we do every day. And thinking about the time that she grew up in, the 80s, when she was really living her life in her teenage years. it's not far removed from what we live in now. There was materialism was already rampant by then. She had to deal with that. Might have taken different forms, but it was there. She dealt with a lot of the same problems that you guys struggle with today, and she loved through that. So after she woke up from surgery, they found out. The doctors told her that they could give her chemotherapy, but it wouldn't cure her. It would just slow the cancer down. Now, honestly, if you were just told that you had cancer that was incurable and you had a year and a half to live, what would your prayer be immediately to Jesus?
I'll just pretty much just say, Lord, help me through this, because I can't do this alone. We're praying for healing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of us would maybe question why. Why me? That was Kiara. I mean, her prayer was, after she woke up from that surgery, her prayer was, Jesus, if you want it, I want it too. But, it's not easy to actually, be able to pray that sincerely every time. Especially, in a situation like this, where she just found that out. Kiara, when she found out, she said, when she was talking to Jesus right after that, she said, the doctors told me I will not recover, Jesus. Why, Jesus? Why me? She was human. She's going through these struggles just as we would. Her mom talked about, as soon as Kiara found out, she just I saw this inner struggle on Kiara's face. I saw this interior inner struggle present on Kiara's face. You could tell that she was struggling with this. Kiara's mom, her quote said, Kiara knew she had to give Jesus her yes, not only in joy, but especially in sorrow. But she couldn't do it. Because naturally at 17 years old, she wanted to live. Kiara said, I felt so little. The path seemed so hard. I often felt oppressed by the pain. I continually prayed my prayer, Jesus, if you want it, I want it too. After she found out this diagnosis of hers, it took her 25 minutes of just sitting there in silence, going through that interior struggle. And she finally turned to her mom with her classic big gleaming smile. And her mom realized okay, she's given her yes to Jesus. She will accept this if Jesus wants it. So these sufferings in her life, this very real and physical pain and emotional, that would have stopped me in my tracks. But she continued to love people. One of the doctors that was working her case said, she constantly asked about my son and my wife. I was so impressed by her inner serenity. Through her smile and through her life, she showed us that death doesn't exist. Only life exists. Kiara would walk around the hospital during chemo. She's you're really tired if you're doing chemo. She'd walk around the hospital and talk and counsel depressed patients. And then the nurses would be like, Kiara, you gotta get to bed. You need rest. And she said, I'll have time to rest later. She continued to just love well. Another one of her friends said, it was so natural to spend time with her. Talking about Kiara's visiting her in the hospital, even. Her friend said, it was so natural to spend time with her. Once you left, you realized your soul had been uplifted. Check Jesus' slide. When her hair was cut during chemo, Kiara said, when I had my hair cut, it was hard for me. Women, I bet if you had to get your hair cut, it would be really hard. She said it was hard for me. But for each lock of hair falling, I repeated, Jesus, this is for you. Jesus, this is for you. Jesus, this is for you. Kiara's father wondered about her joy. He kind of questioned it. He's like, okay, I know she's my daughter. I should know her really well. But there's no way she could be like this joyful like all the time. Like he said, we thought she smiled for us. They kind of thought, well, maybe she's just like putting on a show because she wants us to feel better and not like worry about her as much. So one time after they visited her in her room, they would close the door and her dad like looked through the keyhole to like watch her when she was alone to see if she would like get really sad or something like that. He said that she acted exactly the same. Like Jesus was still with her. Like she was still like had the joyful look on her face of just like being in God's presence. It was authentic. And I mean you could just like see the joy like in the midst of chemo. Like it's just clear from these pictures of her. So this is Kiara's parents, obviously her and her dad and her parents visiting her in her bed, and then them like fairly recently on the far side. So while Kiara was in the hospital, St. Valentine's Day came around. Another example of her just like loving well despite the suffering she's going through. When St. Valentine's Day came around, her parents did not want to leave the hospital. Kiara said to her mom, "Mom, go to the hairdresser. You must go because tonight you're going to celebrate with Dad. Forget about me. Look into each other's eyes and say I love you." That like touched her parents a lot. Like Kiara's mom said, like she said, "I don't cry very much, but after that, like we left the room and I just like cried because they realized that Kiara was trying to help them go on with their lives without her there, like be with each other, trying to help them walk on their own without her. As she was nearing her death, Kiara said, "I have nothing left, but I still have my heart, and with that I can love." So there's a little bit more that I have for you about Kiara, but another question. With some of the difficulties you guys mentioned before about finishing the semester, like how, and like the sufferings that you're going to encounter, whether they be really big or really small, like how can you love others in the midst of those sufferings? How can you love those around you? You don't have to raise your hand, you can just shout it.
Yeah, just kind of like being the person that doesn't like enjoy it, like being complaining, just being like, yeah, this is a lot, and we kind of all feel like we're dying, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it together, and like just kind of being like, I call it the hype man. Just like being in the background, like, let's go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like a really good way to do it, and it's like, it doesn't take, like it's not like super hard to do that, like just like maintain that positive attitude. Like that's a way, simple as it seems, like that's a way to love people. Like they can feel uplifted when like, your presence.
And like, even if they don't, like it doesn't take to them, they're just like, yeah, whatever. This is kind of the truth. It personally helps me, like it motivates me. I'm like, okay, it's not that bad.
Yeah, get yourself hyped up. Any other thoughts? How to love in the midst of difficulties?
I think a lot of times people expect love to be grand gestures. are not expected like to do that, I don't think. Like on a daily basis, like I think we should continually be searching for small ways, like doing the dishes for your roommates, or like if one of your roommates is super mega stressed, like make them a hot chocolate or something. Like just little reminders that like, hey, I see you and I care about you. And yeah, that paper's gonna hurt a little bit to write, but you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good answer. Loving people in the little. Yeah, love doesn't have to be like this huge grand action. It can mean a grand amount to the person you're doing it for, even if the action seems small.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Kind of going off of what Hannah says, especially during finals week, sometimes you don't even have to say anything. Like if you give someone that one hug, you don't know what they're going through, you don't know what their day's been like, but just giving that person that one hug just means the world to them. And to you also too, just be like, we're not alone. We got this together. We're all struggling right now. So it's just that hug just means a lot more than any words that you say.
True that. Yes.
Oh, people love writing, or people love receiving handwritten notes.
That's true. That shows time.
Yeah. I actually really miss not having a note from my mom in my lunchbox.
Dang.
Yeah. 6th grade me, like, didn't know, like, what she had.
Yeah. Yeah, so Kiara also, like, near her death, she said, I want my funeral to be a celebration. She asked to be buried in a white dress so as to be like a bride going towards Jesus. Kiara told her mother, as you're dressing me in my white gown, repeat 3 times with the utmost joy. Kiara is seeing Jesus now. Right before, like, her last words, right before she passed away, she motioned her mom over with a finger, ruffled her hair. She said, bye, Mom. Be happy because I am happy. Protect you with this slap. So people became so inspired by the life and holiness and authentic love of this average girl that her bishop opened her cause for sainthood, and in September of 2010 she was declared blessed. A miracle is attributed to her. And a ceremony, this beatification ceremony, was attended by over 25,000 people from 57 different countries. That's a lot of impacts for this average girl that just loved in ordinary, small ways. Do the slide, please, Jay. Last one. So she is blessed. Like, you can speak to this woman. Like, she knows the world that you live in. She knows the struggles you deal with because she lived it herself. She knows how hard it is to love people even in little ways, but she can help you with it. In the middle of any materialism or academic worries, like, she can help you if you go to her. You can talk to her. Like, God didn't make a mistake by putting you here at UWO in 2018. There's people here that He's put in your life so that you love them. That you love them enough to bring Him to them. That you love them enough that they know they're not alone. He placed you here for multiple reasons. And the common thread through all of them, no matter what they might be, through all those reasons that He's placed you here, the thing that's common to all of them is that you love people well. You love the people around you well. And Blessed Kiara can help you do so if you only ask. Thank you all for coming. We'll have one more upper room in May, the last one of the semester. But yeah, you're definitely welcome to chill and talk and ask questions. And there's actually a 40-minute documentary on YouTube about Blessed Kiara, if you want to learn more about her. So yeah. Let's close in a prayer. You just go on YouTube and type in Blessed Kiara Badano.
And then pick the one that's 45 minutes.
Yeah, most of them are like 3 minutes, so do the 45-minute one. Let's close in a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Come, Holy Spirit, we love you. Set our hearts ablaze with your love. Lord, just give us the strength, give us the grace to finish this semester strong in all areas of our life, in school, in sports, in relationships. Lord, let us not give in to laziness. Give us your fire. Lord, when we are tempted to not talk to somebody, to not invite somebody, give us the strength to go through, convict our hearts that you haven't trusted that person to us, even in a small way. That you desire us to love them in that moment, no matter what we're dealing with. Lord, help us to put ourselves aside. Lord, help us to die to ourselves, that we may live the life that you have called us to live, that you have planned for us to live here at UWO. Everything that we do, all of our thoughts, joys, sufferings, and works, Lord, we give them to you for your glory. All glory be to the Father, to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end.